You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Thursday, February 1st, 2024. I have 7:02 p.m. I'll introduce members of the commission and staff. Joe Chadwick. Joe, are you here? Joe, you appear to be muted, I believe.
Let me try again. I think I tried to make him a co-host. Should be able to unmute yourself, Joe.
Okay, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
off of my phone temporarily until my computer reboots. Something decided that it needed to issue itself. So I apologize for that, but I'll be back on a regular channel in a few minutes. But yes, Joe Chadwick is present and will be fumbling with his phone.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. Fred Russo. Fred, are you here?
Fred Russo is present.
Joe Vayuso. Joe, are you here?
Joe Vayuso here.
Marcy Pelusi. Marcy, are you here?
Marcy Pelusi's here.
Massimo Liguri. Massimo, are you here?
Massimo Liguri is here.
Sharon Hutner. Sharon, are you here?
Sharon Hutner is here.
And that's our commission members, our staff. Harry Smith, Harry Planner, our town planner. Terry, you here?
I'm here.
Evan Brining, our assistant planner. Evan, you here?
Here.
And our clerk recording secretary somewhere in the cloud, be watching this at some point, is Michelle Martin. I am Chuck Anders, chair. I'm going to ask at this point our secretary, Fred Russo, to read the notice of public hearing.
Legal notice, Town of Branford. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, February 1st, 2024 at 7 p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Application number 23-11.5, special exception for grading, section 6.8, located at 37 Brainerd Road. Scott and Lisa Santorowski, applicant and owner. Application number 23-11.5, special exception for a three-family dwelling located at 37 Brainerd Road. Scott and Lisa Santorowski, applicant and owner. Application number 24-1.1, special exception to convert a single-family dwelling to a two-family dwelling located on 65 Linden Avenue, 65 Linden LLC, in care of Kevin O'Neill, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file in the Planning and Zoning Commission's office at the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford, Connecticut 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at branford-ct.gov. Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, C. Andres, chairperson.
Chuck Anders, chair. Thank you, Fred. We'll follow our normal format for public hearings, which is the applicant goes first, makes his presentation. After the applicant goes, we turn it over to commission and staff. Typically hear a summary of a staff report with comments from staff. And then we open up for questions and comments from commission member. At that point, we'll open it up for public comment. And I'll ask Evan in a moment to explain, to go through the process for that. I ask that you state your name and address for the record, make your comments. After the public portion, we allow the applicant to respond to any of the public portion comments. And we also turn it back over to the commission staff for any further questions. We may or may not close the public hearing depending on how it goes. Not unusual to keep them open for more than one public hearing. So with that, we'll turn to our agenda. Our first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing. It's Branford Real Estate LLC, care of Arian Provella, applicant and owner. This is 544 and 558 West Main Street, a special exception for a used car dealership. And this is a matter that I believe we opened at our January 4th meeting, and we continued it to tonight's meeting. However, I understand there's still some items from the staff report that they have recommended that need to be addressed, and the applicant has asked that we continue this further. Evan, is that correct?
That's correct. They asked to continue to the meeting on the 15th, and they also granted an extension of the public hearing to that meeting.
Okay, so for item number 1, if you're here on that one, we're going to continue that to our next meeting, which is also our Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock on February 15th. So if you're here for that one, just tune back in on that time. That's the special exception for the used car sale dealership, continuing that one to our February 15th meeting. That brings us into items number 2 and 3. This is both the first application is a special exception for grading. This is the Scott and Lisa Santoriski, 37 Brainerd Road. That's a special exception for grading. And the second application, also for the same property at 37 Brainerd Road, is a special exception for 3-family dwelling. So we can consider those together. We will have whenever we vote, there will be separate votes, but there's no reason we can consider both of those together. So is before I ask the applicant to proceed with that, I'm going to ask Evan to review the process for participating in the public hearing. Evan, can you do that?
Sure. If you have a microphone on your computer, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a raise hand button. Please raise your hand if you'd like to make any comments or ask any questions. You can also type any comments into the chat feature. And if you're dialing in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And we ask that everyone please state their name at the beginning of their comment or question.
Chuck Anders here. Thank you, Evan. So with that, Mr. Santoriski, are you ready to proceed?
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you.
I'm not good at this. Yeah, we're here for a special exception for grading and building a 3-family. I see the conditions here. So my engineer, who's Nafis and Young, they were working on it today, and they were supposed to PDF it to us so we could share it. I guess you're looking for the where the grading is going to drain off the walls. Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, and post grading sheets. Yeah, we're building a 3-family, and there's going to be 3 retaining walls on the side there. He's got the elevation at the house at where it turns, and up by the street it goes to nothing. I think what he's working on now, I guess there was a concern of water going onto the neighbor's property, but he's going to create some kind of swale to go down the side there so it doesn't, where the wall goes to nothing, which I think will take care of that. The wall's going to be Nicolak blocks, which have, drainage spaces in between them. There's going to be a foot of gravel from the top to the bottom, except for the fabric on the top and the 4 inches of soil. So I don't see a concern with water going over the walls. It's going to drain through the walls and down into the ground. I mean, I think that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Santoriski. Chuck Anders here. Evan, did you prepare the staff report on this?
I did. Mr. and Mrs. Santoriski are before us tonight for 2 special exceptions, one for grading and earth activity within 100 feet of a wetland, the other for 3 dwelling units on 1 property. They received, I think, a grading application last spring for splitting this lot and having 2 single-family homes. Since then, they've gone to the Zoning Board of Appeals and received a variance for lot area per unit to allow a 3rd unit on this property. So they're coming back before us with a 3 townhome design. And Mr. Santoriski got into the grading and retaining walls for us a little bit earlier. Showing that on my screen now. They didn't provide a landscaping plan. However, they did provide some plantings in the rear. I think maybe the inland wetland commission or that process brought those plants along. I did add a possible condition, should the commission determine that it's necessary for those to be native species. They satisfy the off-street parking requirements. They did submit a lighting plan. I did add a condition that would require compliance with section 6.7, outdoor lighting. They have added erosion control measures, silt fencing around basically all the activity. The earth slopes, there was 1 or 2 locations along the property line that would need to be reworked to meet the 3-to-1 ratio. I did make a condition for that to be rearranged to the satisfaction of the town planner or his designee, as well as the addition of the required retaining wall plans. But I believe that's also something that can be added to a condition of approval. Like I said before, they received approval from the Inland Wetland Commission on January 11th, and based on the application materials, it appears that they satisfy the special exception criteria. Staff recommends one finding, that commission finds that the use of the property is consistent with the special exception criteria. Condition 1, prior to the start of construction, erosion control measures shall be installed, and any necessary measures to control erosion or dust may be implemented if determined to be necessary by the zoning enforcement officer. Prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the applicant shall revise the proposed grading plan on sheet 3 to show proposed grades compliant with 3-to-1 slope requirements. I actually adjusted this condition this afternoon. I'm just going to bring it up on the screen now. Let's see. That's the other one. I modified the language in condition 2A to read that 3-to-1 slope requirement shall be met per section 6.8 F2. And they should also add the retaining wall plans required by the regulations as well. And then lastly is the condition for the landscaping plan and the table on that plan to be modified to include native plantings to the satisfaction of the town planner or his designee.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Evan. Questions or comments from commission members before we open it up to the public? Any questions or comments from anyone? Hearing none, then let's see if there's any public comment on this matter. Does any member of the public wish to comment? Again, Evan, can you remind the public how to participate in this?
Sure. Down at the bottom of your screen, there's a raise hand button. You can use this to indicate you'd like to make a comment or ask any questions. You can also indicate in the chat that you'd like to speak or wave your hand in front of the camera. I'll try to catch you. I do not see anyone that would like to participate.
Great. Okay. Any further questions or comments? Mr. Stanariski, do you have any further comments?
No, none at all.
Okay. Any further comments or questions from commission members or staff?
Just a very quick one. Excuse me. I couldn't get my excuse me, my mute unmuted fast enough before. Evan, could you put the site plan back up again?
Sure.
I need some help understanding the contours.
Which section of the plan, Joe?
Right, that is perfect. So we're going from the contour line 116 and theoretically you'd be going up on the curb, and then we're at 115, which was way lower than 116, and then going from 116 to a top of wall of 114. And I understand that the selection of the differential between top of wall and bottom of wall at 3 feet was to avoid an engineered wall. But I'm just not clear how we get from the driveway elevations to the retaining wall and the slope. I guess maybe at this point it's more of a rhetorical question, but by the time this thing gets into an actual building application stage, build a permit application, I would hope some of that contour relationships are a little clearer. Because to go from a 16 to a 15 when you're going up, and then it's sloping back towards the house and the front door, it just seems a little difficult to live with. And this is probably not, strictly within our jurisdiction right now, but I would urge you to look at that carefully before you start putting shovels in the ground.
Yeah, you're talking, I'm sorry, this is Scott Santorowski. Are you talking about the 115 at the curb in the street to the 116 in the parking lot? Yeah.
Well, you've got 116 in the parking lot before you get into the backup area.
Yeah.
And then you've got 115 just beyond that.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're going up to make a curb, which is typical, but the elevations on the opposite side of that are lower, and they go down even more lower to get to the front door of the house, apparently, or the dwellings. So I'm just saying, you want to keep an eye out for that.
Oh, okay.
Can I interrupt? The engineer is showing the grading as if the land is flat, but that proposed 115 and 114, basically, it's almost as if he's saying you have to float a deck from the front door to the parking lot because the land underneath it is lower and in the foundation. So you might want to have him explain what that grading really looks like, the way he drew it. Because
he's got the. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just, I know this area and I've gone into houses like this. It's very steep, and hopefully you're coming out in a lower level on the back end, and and he's got 2 feet of grade from the parking lot to the top of that wall. So that water's going to be kind of moving. It would be nice to know what the plantings are along that side to know how the water can be slowed down and the walls and whatnot, because I think it's very ambitious to be doing it in 3-foot walls.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think he's working on all that now. I think he's got the floor, one finished floor, 116. Yeah, he's pretty much level in the front with the parking.
It's very close.
Yeah, because the framing is 2x10. So yeah, that's the finished floor. So I think it's going to be a little higher than that. I'll have to check with them on that.
Thank you for your comments, Joe, Marcy, and Mr. Santorowski. Are there other comments or from anyone? Sharon, I see you've got
Sharon Hutner. I would like to reinforce the condition about the native plantings. We've lost 3 billion birds in the last 50 years. So the more native plantings we can have, the better. So I would like to reinforce that condition.
Yeah, I think they're on the plan somewhere. I can't find them now, but from the wetlands, we had inkberry plants and.
Yeah, I saw the chokeberries.
Chokeberries, yeah.
Yeah, is that the only planting that's going to be installed?
No, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some in front between the building and parking on either side, and probably on the retaining walls. We'd like to do some nice vegetation going down there. Because there's.
I thought it said deciduous trees, so I just wanted to make sure. Camellia, not all camellias and azaleas and rhododendron are native. So I would just ask that you make sure to choose the variety of those plantings that. If I may. And I think you have a list at the planning and zoning office that you can get. If I may, this is a general point for all special exceptions. I think this is the perfect reason why we need to adjust our regs to require a landscape architect to be submitting on these plans and to not be relying on it later. and through comments. Because the side walls, that is tricky, and you know, the back is abutting a wetlands. There's all kinds of better choices in Inkberry than to just line that back wall to have a native buffer to protect the buffer to the wetlands. I happened to hear at the meeting, and I didn't interject. I'm not allowed to, but it's just a limitation of the regs. But there's a lot you can do, very easily and for little money.
Yeah.
Chuck Anders here. Thank you, Marcy, Sharon. So are we, other than the condition, which is that they be, I believe, the natives, and I think, is there any others modification? The condition reads, the applicant shall revise the landscaping table to include native plantings to the satisfaction of the town planner or designee. Is that good, or are we suggesting anything else?
No, I'm just reinforcing, this is Sharon Hutner again. I think that's fine, just as long as that condition stays.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a limitation in our regulations that we don't require it to be submitted with the plan sooner. That's all I'm saying.
All right. No, we're going to talk about a little bit about, because we promised to talk about landscaping regulation amendments again. So, okay, anything else on this application from commission members or staff or the applicant?
No.
Hearing none, then I think we will close these items 2 and 3, both the grading and the 3-family dwelling special exception, as public hearings, and this is something I think we can take up in a little bit. So thank you very much, Mr. Santaruski. That brings us then to item number 4 of our public hearings, which is 65 Linden LLC, care of Kevin O'Neill, applicant and owner. This is 65 Linden Avenue. Special exception to convert a single family to a 2-family. I believe also we're adding a coastal site plan application with this one. Is the applicant ready to proceed with that one?
Yes, good evening. I'm Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering here at 420 East Main Street in Branford. So the house that I'm representing, 65 Linden LLC, the owner is Kevin O'Neill. Kevin bought the house last fall. The house was built, I believe, in '94, and then as a 2-family house. Clearly, it was built as a 2-family house originally. And then in 2018, someone removed some interior walls to make it a single-family house. And now Kevin is looking to put it back to a 2-family house. I'm going to share the survey. So
before we get going, sorry to interrupt. Do we need to formally add the CAM to the agenda item number 4 for this application?
Sure.
It's basically adding a coastal site plan.
Do we need a motion for that, Harry, or do we just?
I think you probably, to be safe, probably should have a motion adding a CAM site plan. So it reads special exception and CAM, convert single family or 2-family for agenda item number 4.
Okay, so just we'll do that. Is there a motion to add amend item number 4, which is currently just a special exception to convert a single family to a 2-family, to add the coastal site plan along with that application? Someone want to make that motion?
Fred Russo makes that motion.
Motion by Fred. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Further discussion. All those in favor? Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick in favor.
Fred Russo.
In favor.
Joe Vayuzo.
Vayuzo in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
And Chair's also in favor. Okay, Mr. Preddy, you can continue. I think you were about to call up the plan or something, or what's up?
So hopefully you can see that. Jim Preddy again. So this is the existing house. There are, there's plenty of parking here. There's enough spots for 2 on either side of the house. Plus there's a garage under on either side. So there's more than what's required for a duplex. The house currently has separate sewer assessment fees, separate electric meters, separate water meters. So as I said, it was clearly originally a two-family house, and he's just looking to put the interior walls back and make it back into a two-family house. I do have a street view of, so that's the house from the street view. You can see the two garage doors here. What you can't really see here, kind of gray, is that's where the 2 meters are currently, 2 electric meters. But that's the whole, basically that's the whole application. There's no outside work proposed at this point. I mean, he's gonna probably do some cleaning up and cutting back of some of the landscaping, but the cam thing was kind of a question in my mind, because one of the exemptions is interior work only. Well, interior modifications of building, so I wasn't sure. That's why it got added late.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Preddy. Evan, did you prepare this one?
I did, and like Mr. Preddy described for us, no proposed site plan changes, just converting what was formerly a two-family back into one. They meet the requirements of the R3 district, as well as the parking requirements. No lighting was noted in the plans, but a condition has been added that would require compliance with section 6.7. The applicant satisfies the criteria from the coastal site plan review sections 9.7. And they satisfied the special exception criteria as well. Staff recommends one finding that the coastal site plan is consistent with the goals and policies of the Coastal Area Management Act, and that all lighting is compliant with section 6.7.
Thank you, Evan. And Evan, this is R2, not R3, right?
I'm sorry, did I say R3?
I wasn't quite sure, but it
R2.
It is R2, right? Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you, Evan. Are there questions and comments from commission members or staff before we open up to the public? Hearing none, then let's open it up to the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this application? Evan, do you see anybody?
Just to reiterate, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a raise hand button. Please use this to indicate you'd like to speak. I do not see any.
Great, thank you, Evan. Further comments from commission members or staff? Mr. Preddy, anything else?
Oh, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, hearing no additional comments, then we can close this matter as public hearing. And again, this is something I believe we can take up in a little bit. So thank you, Ms. Preddy. It brings us then to our minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. The first was the January 4th, 2024 minutes. Why don't we start with that first? I think there were a number of revisions and got resent out to us. Harry, did you made the revisions to the January 4th meeting? Was that correct? Minutes? Or
yeah, Harry Smith, town planner. Michelle made a couple of changes, and I think that addresses the concerns I had about sequencing of comments or whatever it was in here. So,
okay. Okay, then, if someone want to make a motion with respect to the January 4th to 2024 minutes.
Fred Russo will make that motion.
Motion to approve the minutes by Fred. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo?
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy Pelusi?
Recused, I wasn't at the meetings.
Okay. And so Marcy abstains, and the chair is also in favor. So that brings us then to the second set of minutes, which was the February 1st minutes. And I believe those are distributed. Harry, did you, what am I talking about? Today is February 1st. The January 18th minutes. Harry, have you looked at those? Have you had a chance to take a look at those before we, and I just want to make sure you don't have any suggested changes before we ask for a vote.
Harrison Town Planner, don't think there was a whole lot here, and the only application that was approved was 11 Laurel Hill Road, and that has findings, conditions, the motion, and the second, and the vote. So I think it covers what was done at that meeting, as far as I can tell.
Okay, with that said, it's I don't know if anyone else has any comments, but if not, if someone will make a motion with respect to the January 18th, 2024 minutes.
Chadwick will make that motion.
Motion to approve the January 18th, 2024 minutes by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Joe Vayuso seconds.
Second by Joe Vayuso. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo.
Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe in favor.
Marcy.
I have to abstain that one as well.
Marcy abstains, and chairs is in favor. So those minutes are approved. Okay, then let's go back to the public hearing items that we may be able to act on. The first ones were item 2 and 3. We probably need to do separate motions for those. Those were the Brainerd Road ones. That was the grading and the 3-family. And Evan, do you want to pull up the proposed one? Do you have separate motions for those, Evan? And Evan, are you muted, Evan?
Sorry, guys. First is the grading application. I wrote up separate conditions for each of the special exceptions.
Okay. Okay, so, and this is the report that we've discussed. Again, there was some discussion about the possible grading in the front, and I think the consensus was that it needs something to be aware of, and the applicant should be aware of, and possibly some planting, so possibly drainage going in a particular direction. But am I correct that there was neither commission member or staff thought that we needed to add anything to the staff recommendation on this? That was my understanding, but I'll just throw it out there before we ask for a vote.
I think it's fine. You know, they're gonna find when they build it that they'll have to deal with the grade, and you know, if there's changes in the plans, I'm sure they'll review it with the building officials.
Okay. Okay, and then I know Sharon emphasized the native planting, and that's on, that will be condition number 3. So then, again, Evan, I think you did review this with us during the public hearing, and it's presented to us. So, and did you highlighted the change, the 3-to-1 slopes that's emphasized in 2A, I believe, right?
That's correct.
And then the 3 about the revision on the native planting. So with that, does someone want to make a motion to approve this application by adopting the findings and conditions in the staff report that has been presented by Evan, and it's currently displayed in front of us?
Fred Russo will make that motion.
Motion by Fred to approve and adopt findings and conditions recommended by staff in the amended staff report. Is there a second by anyone?
Marcy will second.
Second by Marcy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo.
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. So then we'll go to item number 3. That's also 37 Brainerd Road for the Santoriskis, and that is the 3-family dwelling special exception. So Evan, do you want to pull that one up? Okay, so it looks like the conditions, the other one, this doesn't have all the rest of them. So that was only needed for the grade. Those other ones are going for the grading. And Evan, so this one, you just recommending one condition, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the condition is the typical lighting condition. You know, in the event that's proposed.
May I make one comment, Chuck? This is Joe.
Sure,
Chad.
absolutely.
May we caption this as a 3-unit building as opposed to a 3-family dwelling?
Sure.
I say this only because there's a very specific nomenclature with respect to the building code. And if ever there was a controversy with respect to any of this, the interpretation of a 3-family building compared to a 3-unit building will have just a totally different meaning. And rather than suffer that ambiguity, I think we should just change that now. It's a 3-unit building, not a 3-family building.
Great, thanks for that clarification, Joe. I think that's no problem. That's certainly consistent with the site plan.
Yeah.
Any any other? Yeah, Harry.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. Actually, that's more consistent with the language right in the regulations, which the use is called a dwelling containing, frankly, 2, 3, or 4 dwelling units. So if you call it a dwelling containing 3, it should be really a building containing 3 dwelling units, but that's the terminology in the zoning regulations. So 3 dwelling unit building.
Okay. Do we need the word? Should we add the word dwelling, or does it matter?
Well, I think unit instead of family is where, Joe, is that where it's the word family that's the problem, right?
Well, a 3-family building is a higher level of occupancy. The building code is divided into the single-family dwelling code, which includes 1 and 2 family dwellings, and the standard building code, the IBC version of the building code, which involves anything over 2 families, like a 3-family, would require an architectural seal. It would require a whole host of other protectives that you wouldn't necessarily have to have here. So it's a much higher standard of construction. So 3 single dwelling units or 3 joined dwelling units horizontally like this, you fall under a different building code classification, and it's more consistent with the intent of the zoning language.
I think what you're saying is consistent with the wording in the use definition. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from any commission members? Not then, does someone want to make a motion to approve the application? Again, we've amended the caption to describe it as a special exception 3 dwelling unit building. But with that change, someone want to make a motion to approve the draft proposal presented by staff, the findings and conditions for this.
After all that, Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion to approve the application by adopting the staff recommendations as amended, and the findings and conditions by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Fred Russo, second.
Second by Fred. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo.
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy Pelosi.
Marcy's in favor.
Chair is also in favor. That brings in, let's bring back then the 65 Linden Avenue LLC, Kevin O'Neill, applicant and owner. Again, the special exception to convert the single family to a 2-family. And do you want to pull up your staff recommendation for that one, Evan? Okay, this seemed again to be fairly straightforward. There was no public comment. It was previously a 2-family and converted to a 1-family, and they want to bring it back to a 2-family with no exterior site changes, actually. So it seems fairly straightforward. Any questions or comments from any commission members? And if not, does someone want to make a motion to approve the application by adopting the findings and conditions in the staff recommendation?
Marcy Pelosi will make that motion as presented.
Motion to approve by adopting the findings and conditions by Marcy. Is there a second?
Iuso seconds.
Joe Vayuzo seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe in favor.
Marcy,
Marcy's in favor.
Chair's also in favor. So that application is approved. So that brings us then to correspondence. Do we got anything, Harry?
Harry Smith Town Planner, we have no correspondence this week.
Great. That brings us into old business. Looks like all three items are scheduled for public hearings at our next meeting on February 15th. Accessory structure and an oversized accessory lot, 3 accessory structures. So we'll hear all of those at our next meeting, public hearings. That brings us then to new business. Any new business to? There's nothing on the agenda, Harry, but I don't know if anything's
we do get 2 applications, but they came in today, so they'll technically be received at the next meeting on the 15th. So they're not technically before you until they're received.
Thank you, Harry. And that brings us into other business. First item is a request for a time extension to find a Mylar for the re-subdivision at 66 Tucket Road. What's the request for that one, Harry?
This is a letter which should be here in front of me. It's basically a request for, you may recall, it's a small subdivision. I believe it was 4 lots, maybe 5, off Tucket Road. And we had a lot of discussion about drainage and clearing and so forth. We did receive a letter, and actually the applicant's attorney, Mr. Lee, is with us. So I'll let him, if he wants to say anything about it, basically asking for an additional 90 days to file subdivision Mylar. So.
Thank you, Harry. Good evening, everybody. It is, as Harry said, our request for an extension of time of 90 days to file the Mylar. Commission approved the subdivision, 4-lot subdivision at their October meeting. After the October meeting, we went on to the Pine Orchard Association, got their approval in December. So now that we have all the needed approvals, we can go ahead, file the Mylar, and then begin construction. So tonight we're asking for an extension of time of 90 days to file the Mylar.
Chuck in his chair. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Any questions from any commission members or staff? Seems fairly routine, and I don't believe there's any change in circumstances that would cause this to really question this one.
And for the record, we received the request for the extension of time prior to the expiration of the standard 90-day time period.
Right. Okay. Someone want to make a motion to approve a 90-day extension to file the Mylar for the re-subdivision at 66 Tucket Road?
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Fred Russo will second.
Second by Fred. Further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick?
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo?
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo?
Joe in favor.
Marcy?
Marcy's in favor.
And Chair is also in favor. So extension is granted, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
That brings us then to item number 2 under other business, which is the planner's report. What's going on here?
Let's see. I did send Harry Smith Town Planner did send around a copy of a landscape regulation from Greenwich, Connecticut to everyone. I'm not proposing we discuss this tonight at all. I'm not really ready to do that myself. But I just wanted to note that that was around. So if you don't have a copy of that, something happened to it, let me know. I think recall back in when we dropped this off, maybe December or November, there was some discussion about setting up a little committee. And I think that was either consensus request or a combination of both. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit. You could do that after the rest of my report if you like, or we can do it right now.
You raised it. Yeah, I mean, remember we denied, there was the application for the landscaping regulations that we sort of denied without prejudice with the idea we would take it up. I think we said we'll take it up in February, but I think
just technically it was withdrawn though. Just I think there
right,
was some comment.
that's
Heard
correct.
somebody that was actually in the minutes for I think the EDC was said it was denied. And it was actually withdrawn before.
Correct. Yeah. That's correct. The application was withdrawn, but the understanding is that we would look at it again. So yep. Probably it makes sense to have a committee of. I mean, one of the concerns raised was that there perhaps needed to be more diversity or more discussion about this beforehand. So possibly a committee or with I would think no more than 2 people from the Planning and Zoning Commission, because otherwise you get into quorum issues. But that's something we could think about. I know, Harry, you invested a decent amount of time in that, and you've looked at other things. So I don't know if anyone wants to. That's my thought. Maybe we can think about it, and at our next meeting, if you're interested, you can think a little bit more about it. Do you want to be on a committee? I would not, but maybe some of you do. We could talk about that. Further thoughts from people?
Chuck?
Yes, Marcy.
I think it was Perry that made the point that we needed to have people from like wetlands and ZBA and, economic development and, diversify as far as a balance between those that may be leaning more pro-development versus pro-environmental. I think that was the intent of the comment. And so, obviously that creates some work for Harry to find a balanced committee of volunteers. But
yeah, I mean, I'd certainly talk to Perry and possibly, other members of the EDC about who might want to be involved. I think one of the applicants for the regulation amendment approached me. They want to be involved, so I think that probably makes a lot of sense. A couple of members of P&Z. I may approach wetlands, particularly the wetlands director used to be our CEO, and see if her or somebody from wetlands wants to be on it. I would not see this being a very large group, frankly. I think, maybe 5-ish people, maybe a little bit more, maybe 7 tops. So I'll explore that if that's okay with everyone, and see who might be interested from various groups. I think somebody maybe from the Forestry Commission might be interested as well. I think we've got a professional arborist or something on that, I was told. So I think Marcy's exactly right. You want to kind of have, both sides, if you will, or different, all the input that came out at the hearing represented. So I will solicit names and we can figure out who wants to do it. And Sharon?
Yeah, I'm volunteer. Sharon.
You're volunteering, okay.
On the list.
Right, and what you could do is, if you think about it, and contact Harry before the next meeting. I don't want to put anyone on the spot right now. I don't know what people's schedules are like, and we're just raising right now. But Sharon, you're interested. But if there's anyone, I don't think we should have more than 2, really, because otherwise you get quorum issues and whatever. But if someone else, if others, whoever is interested, contact Harry before the next meeting, and then we'll, if there's more than 2, we'll figure it out. But anyway, that's my suggestion. So,
okay.
Anyone? Does anyone else have any further comments on that?
EDC, Economic Development Manager. Is it okay if I chime in here?
Perry, sure.
I just want to say, we did talk about some different things, and I've talked with Harry about it, and we definitely want to have somebody, as far as landscape architect, someone, commercial realtor. We do have somebody on the EDC that was willing to be involved on that aspect. Definitely a couple people from planning and zoning, and go from there. So I think just where it's going to affect things, both positive and negative, whatever comes out of this, we have to make sure that everybody's input is heard, and then we make decisions from there. What is necessary, what's not necessary, what we've forgotten, what we should maybe add to it, and whatever. So I'll talk with Harry some more on this, and thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Anything else by anyone? Okay, so we'll talk about this further probably at the next meeting. So what else you got for planners report, Harry?
In the background here over the last few weeks, I've been mostly in the last week and a half or two, been working on taking the input you gave staff on the issues we raised at the meeting in December about potential, what I like to call housekeeping amendments to the zoning regulations. So I just about got that ready to go. I was hoping to have it done for tonight. There's a couple of things I need to add to it, and then I'm doing some more work on addressing, you may recall, we had a pretty extensive discussion about density potential in what's called the center business zone that extends from the commercial buildings fronting Main Street across the town green, down the hill to the north, basically to the post office and Rose Hill down there, or Rose Street, I think it is. So I looked at the apartment building down at the bottom of the hill that had a variance for density, and I looked at a couple of the properties that really haven't gone through to make sure that there is nothing that would be, or find out what might be non-conforming if we picked any particular lower density. So I think that was a concern that was raised. So I wanted to go through and finish that. One thing that occurred to me was on that angle was just sort of, there is another overlay zone along the commercial buildings on Main Street in front of the green that continues on to the south along Montaouise, basically where, it stops about where the buildings stop fronting on the sidewalk. It's beyond the town green, definitely. So that area might be suited to, something of a density that is equivalent to what might be supportable by units in the upper stories. And there's a property that already did convert that, over the last year and a half or so. So I'll look at all that too. And I want to get this out to you probably in the next week, I'm hoping. Unfortunately, we're hitting a little bit of a issue with staffing here temporarily. So I will be out in and out of the office after next Tuesdays. My wife's going into surgery. It's just it's a foot reconstruction, but we'll keep her off her feet, and I need to be, with her for in and out. And we've got another issue in the department here. So we'll get it in front of you as soon as we can. But just want to give you a little report that it's just about ready to go. And in between everything, I'll get it out to you so everyone can take a good look at it and have plenty of time to look at it before we schedule a discussion. We'll look at whether it makes any sense. I don't know, you tell me whether you want to have another special meeting or try to squeeze it onto one of the agendas. We've been pretty lucky recently, but I understand the former Regal Cinema property is coming in probably any day now or next week with an application. They've already been through wetlands. This is the proposal to build a residential building basically in the parking lot and add a little restaurant pad in front and rework the cinema building itself. Was talked about at the conceptual level quite a while ago. So they're just about ready to apply for a PDD, and they're proposing affordable housing as part of that. That's my understanding. So that would, schedule-wise, if they come in, probably be the second meeting in March. So whether we could, at the first meeting in March, possibly talk about this package of regulation amendments. I'll talk about with you, Chuck, how you want to schedule it. But that is basically the rest of my report and what's been going on here. Evan, is there anything you want to add? I know you're...
No.
Okay. Any questions anybody's got?
Okay. Thanks, Harry. Look forward to getting more the details on those the text amendments we were reviewing. So that's it. Anything else? Anyone else got anything?
That's it.
Okay. Well, look at that. I think we're under an hour, guys.
Another one.
An hour. Okay.
Don't get too spoiled.
Great. Okay. Well then,
Can I
yes,
say something, Chuck? Joe?
Yes, absolutely, Joe.
Just thinking out loud here. With the extra week into February, it might be wise to take that February, I think it's 29th, I'm looking at the calendar now, 29th, and put a special meeting on to take care of some of these items that probably will take an hour or two to talk about, if not more. What you just were saying about the landscaping and the regulations that we had in December and all that.
Yeah, I think, I think we could talk about maybe the committee, and we could certainly talk about the package of amendments I've got, and I'll try to get that out. So you've got at least, a couple weeks to look through them before any special meeting.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, that's a good idea. We do have 5 Thursdays in February. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to be on the road on February 29th.
Okay. With spring coming up and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. You're busy as heck in spring. You're right.
Well,
yeah,
no, I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking generally speaking. Spring, things get busy.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Well, that's just a suggestion. That's all. That's fine.
Okay. No.
I'd rather have an extra meeting dedicated to one thing than to have long meetings.
No. Good point. Good point, Joe. Well, I don't.
We can, if someone's willing, we could flip it a little and look at what might be regular agenda items that might be pretty straightforward for a special meeting, just to clean the deck on a little bit development review, if that's possible. I mean, I know, Chuck, you wouldn't be available, and then we'd have the discussion of the zoning regs at the regular meeting, the first meeting in March, when you're back. Maybe. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, if other people could make it the 29th, I may be able to. I'm not sure where I'm up to. I think I'm probably traveling back from Florida then. So, but
yeah,
we'll
I mean, what might be on the docket might be so quick. If we have a meeting, for the first meeting of March, like tonight, we could probably at least get into, going through, talk about the committee or talk about the regulation amendments. I have drafted up one or the other, and probably do that in one night, I would think.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Something like a night like tonight, we could have got something
Hunted
done
them
the
out.
next hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. The 15th. I mean, we got 3 oversized garages on for next.
Yeah, I can't. We're going to have some staffing, like I said, some staffing issues.
Yeah.
The next week or two, and that's going to. Otherwise, I would go ahead with that. But there's another person in the department that is expected to be out will be out unexpectedly. Most likely.
What's Fred Russo? What's the rush if we postpone it till March?
No. I mean, it's just. I think Joe's idea. We will have the Regal Cinema. We may get other items coming in, so we just may have. I mean, I think we'd be prepared because the regulations would be done in terms of a draft and going back and forth with you all about what you'd like to change or whatever in them, and putting them out for public hearing is not as much of an effort as drafting them in the first place.
Harry, it just seems to me that we're going to have staffing issues, whatever they are. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on you to come up with something in February. Why don't we just postpone it till March? I mean, another month's not going to change anything. I mean, we can do all the little peripheral stuff, but I mean, I think it's important for you to be there, and if you can't, that's understandable. And whoever else is not going to be there, I don't see why we just can't postpone it to March and make it easy on you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it. Chuck, you and I could talk about it. And some of the situations unfolding, so I really don't know the specifics about some of, what's going to happen the next couple of weeks in terms of myself being available here and the other person as well. So.
Okay. We can talk about it at our next meeting too. I mean, we can see what works.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Not then, someone will make a motion to adjourn.
Fred Russo makes that motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Fred. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Further discussion. All in favor, Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo.
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
And Chair is also in favor. So, okay. Good night, everyone.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.